And a very, very welcome to you. This is Tracy van der Schuyf, all the way from sunny South Africa. And I'm so excited to have a friend and a fellow Microsoftie, Stefan Bauer, on the call with me today. And of course, Stefan is an information architect, a consultant, a web designer and developer, office development MVP. I mean, the list is crazy. But for me, the most important thing about Stefan is that he's from Austria, and that, of course, is the birthplace of KTM, right? Stefan?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most important thing for me, for sure. Now, Stefan, I'm so glad that you are joining me today. Of course, we're both involved this year with ESPC 21 as well.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to your session. And I do have a couple of questions for you today, and just maybe for the audience who doesn't know you, to get to know you a bit better. And I think that'll bring me to my first question. Now, we've known each other a couple of years. I know we both love coffee, of course.
Yeah.
We love coffee. So we've had lots of chats and lots of good coffees, and we've had interesting discussions about the UI and UX and design in general. I do think we sit on opposite sides of the table nearly. You know me, I'm a citizen designer, okay? So I do those crazy PowerPoints and these days Paint 3D stuff, which I think gives designers like you gray hairs most probably. But I think there's many people like me out there who can't completely wrap their head around this whole fluent design thing. So although it's difficult to explain concepts that are complicated in a short time, I'm going to put you in the hot seat and say, can you explain fluent design to us, like to the layman's, to the noobs like me out there?
Fluent Design actually from Microsoft is the Microsoft Design Language. So this is the design language that they communicate out throughout their websites, for all their applications and services, also not Microsoft 365, right? So when you open a SharePoint, then this falls exactly the Fluent Design guidelines. And so it gives the user of any of these Microsoft services an idea, hey, I'm using now a Microsoft service because it behaves and works and looks exactly the same way like Microsoft intended it to be.
Okay, it sounds so I had a driving school before, but I know you can laugh at that, but I used to teach people to drive, and for me it sounds like that framework with the rules around the road, what side of the road you're supposed to drive on, what boards and signs do we use to regulate traffic. So it sounds a bit like that. We need
it's a bit like that, and the reason from a design perspective why it's called design language is so you speak to the users and you combine it to new sentences and paragraphs that you talk, how you talk in a visual way to the end users.
So it's like a design translator nearly, because there's so many different languages that needs to be conformed and speak to each other, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. That definitely, I think it helps me understand it a little bit better. I think I'd stay clear. I mean, like I said, the crazy things I've done in Excel and in PowerPoint for SharePoint pages, I should have been put in jail for it. But we'll leave these complicated things up to the experts like you, right?
Thank you.
Now, this brings me to my second question to you today, Stefan, and that, of course, and I'm going to use air quotes for this. I've always been incredibly inspired by what you do, okay? Because as I said, we don't always understand what we all do. We have an idea, but I've always been so inspired by it. I've read many of your blogs. I've always loved your blogs. I think you share great guidelines and tips for people on how to achieve things. But if I have to think, and I mean, you know this, going to the internet is like taking a sip from a fire hydrant. So if someone had to go and search for how to get started, they must probably be going to get 1 million results and 700,000 of them are wrong, okay? So I thought it would be a great idea from a great thought leader as yourself to maybe, for anyone who wants to get started in the design side, okay? Is there any resources you can point them to, like really people that are getting started? What is a good place for them to start learning and to start reading up from the right source? Because as we know, there's wrong sources as well.
Yeah, Microsoft has a link shortener in place, which is aka.ms.fluentdesign, where they
Okay.
explain a lot about all the design theories and background information, why Windows looks exactly like it looks like, what frameworks are out there for web development, for desktop development, and for application development, if you like, and what the design concepts and the interaction models behind this.
Okay, just
So
repeat
it
that.
gives the complete guideline rule book how to work with Fluent Design.
That definitely. Just repeat that URL for us again, Stefan.
aka.ms/fluentdesign.
That's a great
That's
place
it.
to get started. Any other resources you'd like to maybe mention?
Yeah, especially when you want to get started for SharePoint development, or we use something which is the SharePoint framework. So you can go to aka.ms/SPFX, which is the short term for SharePoint framework development. And in there you will also find guidelines on how to design an application that runs then in SharePoint or Microsoft Teams or Office add-ins.
Okay, that's a great resource. I think one of the best resources as well we'll get to next. And let's take a look at my third question to you today. And as you might know, there's been a lot of excitement on social media. I've seen a lot of things. I've gone and read up a bit, and I heard about the launch or the making public of something called H2O. Now, I'd love you to really go through that and just I don't know, share some of the insights for us. What can we expect from H2O?
Yeah, so the idea of H2O is go one technical step back, right? When you open up a website, then it always is in HTML and CSS, which are the core fundamental technologies that are used there. So these technologies are also in mind that, or were built with the intention for a regular user to understand a little bit, right? Writing an HTML page is more like writing a Word document, but instead you format your headings and something like that. You have some special keywords that you have to use to write HTML and CSS. So what Microsoft actually at the moment provides for the development in Office 365 especially is a framework which is called React.js, which is more advanced than HTML and CSS in many ways.
Okay.
But this also limits the possibilities that we can do nowadays with Fluent Design. So what I did, or what H2O is, I reverted some of their controls back to simple plain HTML that everybody can use on their website, in Office 365 customizations, in team applications, and so it gives you really it's more like, it's on one hand it's a framework setup, on the other hand it's like a learning platform. How does the really plain HTML looks like? How does the design looks like from a CSS perspective? And also gives you some ideas and are working on the documentation. So it's more a learning platform as well for developers that just getting started. And what I also increase there, or add to this H2O platform or H2O framework, a lot of information around accessibility. Because when we build nowadays informations for the web, then we also have to consider that not everybody can see what we actually have on the user interface, but they should also interact with these user interfaces with different ways.
So it's a tool set or a framework that you've put together to help people get started and to understand all the complexities. Sounds like something I should take a look at. I think, oh my word, it definitely gets complicated.
Yeah, and also the problem is HTML and CSS is a real, like I said before, it's a real fundamental technology. So you can use whatever framework you like to build up experiences in Office 365 and SharePoint.
Okay, that's pretty
Microsoft
cool.
in specific.
So I went and read, when I saw that coming past, I was quite curious as to what you were up to as well. And in that specific article, where you gave a really good explanation with how it works and what people can expect, I saw that you referred to, I don't know if it's a methodology or philosophy, but atomic design. I'd love you to just maybe share some insights on that.
Yeah, I mean, when we have advanced frameworks like Fluent UI Web, which is actually the web framework that Microsoft provides, they have a lot of ready-made user controls in there, right? Sometimes these controls are really too big. So atomic design is actually gives you a methodology which allows you to define the smallest pieces of a user interface, like say a small button, hyperlink, input fields, and so on and so forth, that is then combined to bigger molecules, right?
Okay.
So it's really has an base idea from chemistry.
Okay.
So you design these individual parts, which are called atoms, which are the smallest building blocks of a user interface. Combine them to bigger ones, to molecules, and then this leads up to organisms. Let's say you have, for example, a complete header of your application, which then contains also molecules and atoms. And this is a really good way to describe or design in future, because it gives a lot of understanding between designers, developers, project manager, and of course you don't just build one solution, but you document whatever you built before in a platform like H2O shows you, so that everybody can refer to, even when you have design projects specifically. So you have a big header on top of your page, then some call it hero, some call it slider. And this is not only, so the atomic design approach is not only a developer or designer approach, so it also gives, because we document everything in HTML there, it gives also a base understanding in the project, what terms we used, right? And how exactly this control is named, not only for designer and developers, but also for project manager, for customer, and they also can provide feedback like, I want to have it a little bit darker red, and so it's really more a collaborative design of applications than rather we do it, we build it for you, we ship it, and then you have to live with it.
Makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. To finish off our interview, and I really thank you for this, Stefan, I'd like to quote something from that article of yours about H2O. And that was that developers solves problem with code and designers solves problems with design. So for them to meet on a middle ground of a common style guide is crucial. They work better together with respect and their common goal to solve problems. And I really, really like that. So from my side, I want to thank you for your efforts in the community and everything that you do. I'm really looking forward to your session, and for everyone watching, I really hope that we get some time to hang out at ESBC 21,
Hopefully,
and
yeah.
I do hope that you enjoy the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.